speak about Gensler now. I watched him get fried like a chicken. It was unbelievable. The fortitude this man must have, the abuse he was taking, it was unbelievable. Here's the issue, all right? And
he wants a digital currency. That's what he's looking for. Well, and they destroyed him on that.
There's a bill called there's two bills going through, and he's jammed them shut down. First of all, as you know, FTX is out of business, and he has chased Binance out of America and charged them, both the head guy CZ and the business. All kinds of regulators put charges on them. And he's running around the world. They're trying to catch him. Who knows where? This is what's frustrating. And this is why the senators, governors, men and women in lawmaking are unhappy. We're letting innovation slip away. And let me give you a good example. This hasn't been announced yet, but in Abu Dhabi, they're planning the launch of a new exchange to replace both FTX and Binance, and they're going to get billions on it, called M2. Totally compliant, backed by billions of dollars, incredibly stable, ownership transparency, and it can be used by anybody in the world legitimately on a compliant basis. Where do you think all this innovation is going to go? It's going to go to the UAE. It's going to go to Abu Dhabi. It's going to become the new standard in exchanges because you can't hold Bitcoin without an exchange for liquidity. And Gensler has sued Coinbase, the largest in the U.S., which is why Fidelity and BlackRock, who were there on the Hill, were really unhappy because they can't do their ETF. Well, Abu Dhabi's putting up its hand and saying, we can do it over here. If you can't get it done there, we'll do it here. We are the new capital of capital, and we're coming to compete. Everybody should wake up and say, wait a second, this is America. What's happening to us? And they were frying Gensler, frying him, saying you're stopping innovation. You've got to let this asset class, which everybody wants, you got to set it free. And he just kept saying no.
About one of the engineers at Legex, which was something that they had purchased, who had seen in the code that Alameda was coded effectively such that they didn't need to keep collateral or that typically for just about every other account on the system, they would start to liquidate your positions if you got to a certain number. Whereas with Alameda, it was basically coded out so that that would not take place. And he brought this to the attention of one of Sam's lieutenants, who I imagine may very well testify, we'll see. And all of a sudden, and he took out some of the code or did something to make it look like maybe he was doing something about this. How do you see that? Is that the most central piece of this whole case, do you think?
I think it's extraordinarily damaging because Sam's defense is essentially that I was an overextended guy, building a plane while flying it, to quote his lawyer's opening argument, to use that sort of startup cliche. And in that situation, prosecutors are going to use that evidence and say this was intentional. This was a fraud because there was foresight. This was in the code to have this back door that allowed Alameda to do whatever it wants. So, Sam's going to argue that this was basically an accident, sort of a Nixonian mistakes were made. Every piece of code that contradicts that shows that there was actual forethought put into the mechanics here, I think, is extraordinarily damaging. And I thought that story undercut a lot of the defense's case.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Support this great content by hitting the Cash App and by joining the Patreon.
And we have Kevin O'Leary now back on the scene. They let him hide behind the curtain after the FTX debacle. Now they're bringing him back, saying that Gary Gensler was fried like a chicken. But we know Gary Gensler is kicking his regulation can down the road for a reason. And Kevin O'Leary speaks about the UAE M2 exchange. Says it's going to be replacing Binance and FTX. But guys, we know the big banks are going to be controlling crypto. Remember, DeFi is definitely the new banking. These central banks are not going to give up the power. Yes, you're going to have exchanges because they're nothing but banks. But the big banks are still going to stay in control. Now we have the Bankman trial going on. And you have to always take a step back and look twice. Guys, this case is not about the Bankman. It's not about all this money. It's about blockchain. Blockchain right now is on trial. Can it prove that FTX, the Bankman, is guilty? Remember, blockchain, devices like Neuralink, smart contracts are going to be your new courts. And remember, the crypto teacher told you.
Interest expenses are going to be so high. If Jay Powell really holds his ground, Brian, and stays higher for longer, this country's got a lot of pain in front of it just to service the mountain of debt that, as you said, continues to grow. Debt and deficits don't matter until they do, and I think we're turning that corner. 31st, the United States spent $808 billion servicing the debt. That's more than the defense budget of $695 billion, and that defense budget, by the way, is bigger than any other country on planet Earth. So very soon here, we've gone from 32 trillion to 33 trillion in debt in a matter of months. At some point, you're going to have a crowding out effect where Congress is not going to be able to spend as much money on what the country needs because they're going to be spending over $1 trillion a year just servicing the debt. Remember, unlike Argentina, the United States could not extend out the maturity to a 50-year bond or a 100-year bond when interest rates were at the zero bound. We pushed that opportunity away at the wrong time. Shame on us.
As long as it's, when it gets shut down, which I think it will on this partisanship we have right now in divided government, you don't want it to last more than 14 days. The reason the market doesn't care is that they know it'll get worked out because these politicians, it's really bad for their brands. This is the business of the people. They're shutting down. This is not, let's make sure everybody understands, it's not a default of debt. This is simply the government shutting down because they can't get along. Now, that may sound silly because it is, and voters know this. So when you start to affect day-to-day life of voters, they get unhappy. And that's when these politicians find a way to work it out. Generally takes about 10 days. So no, not that worried about it. Seen the movie before, and I find the movie quite.
And we have the Fed holding interest rates higher for longer. And it's not just the Fed, it's majority of the central banks. So we see the globe hurting. But when it comes to the United States, we had the world reserve currency. So it didn't matter. We could print all the money. But now that these countries are getting off the dollar, now it's time to worry. And like she stated, we could have extended the bond for 50 years. But guys, why they don't want to extend it? Because of the fourth industrial revolution. It's time to get rid of the world reserve currency, United States dollar, and they want the rise of the digital yuan with that Belt and Road. The emerging markets, the Middle East, is definitely about to rise. And we're going to have the machine takeover, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And then we have the government shutdown looming. We have the strikes going on. Do I think the government is going to shut down this time? Yes, I do. For a short period, but I definitely think it's going to shut down because we know the fourth quarter they bring the entertainment, so therefore they can continue on building. Remember, they need the next 3 to 4 years in order to get this fourth industrial revolution up and running. We see the technology constantly coming, while the sheep are distracted on things that don't matter. But by the time they wake up, the machines would have taken over the economy. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows, when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust. and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.